we are going to wrap things up here with MLS. We have the MLS Cup. And yes, yours truly, come on now. These have been flexing. I flexed it. Portland Timbers, NYCFC is your MLS Cup next Saturday. Fantastic stuff from both sides. Portland took care of business against Real Salt Lake. And NYCFC, we have to mention it, a depleted Philadelphia Union, of course, due to COVID. But there was a good fight, 60 minutes up, and Philadelphia Union actually led 2 goals in the space of 90 seconds, and then obviously NYCFC in the latter stages. And they go to their first ever MLS Cup. Congrats to our friend Ian Poljo, by the way, who does color commentating for them as well, and so many others. Obviously, my MLS local team, I've reported on them ever since their inception, so it's pretty cool to see them. But Heath, MLS Cup, Portland Timbers, NYCFC, at Portland, by the way, which is actually a big deal. Talk to me.
Yeah, can I also just mention that the match winner came from Talas Magno, who is supposed to be the next global superstar. And this was supposed to be a turning point for Major League Soccer. He was a super sub here, but it was supposed to be this turning point for Major League Soccer where now these teams are challenging for not just 21, 22, 23-year-olds in Argentina and Brazil, but the next big stars to be the stepping stone on their way. Obviously delivers in this fashion, but hasn't been, the player that you expect of him when he was supposed to be one of the top few players in the world. But this is one where it went from being Philadelphia Union as probably the favorites to win MLS Cup at that point to then being the favorites to lose in this game. And I was surprised with how poor NYCFC played, considering they were playing against a makeshift squad of very few starters, to the point where Aurelian Collin, who I knew played for Philadelphia Union, but only because I had seen his name on their website, but hadn't seen him play in a long time.
They were overwhelmed in Philadelphia, which says a lot if they travel to Portland. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And Portland's going to be a rocking atmosphere. I actually can't think of a better atmosphere for an MLS Cup than a Portland. I mean, obviously there are some other rival stadiums, but anytime that you can take a match to Cascadia, you're going to get a rocking house, which I respect. And for Portland, just an incredible story for them. Outmatched. They were just too strong for Real Salt Lake, who, again, I think after a while, if they couldn't iterate, it's certainly an opportunity, I think, for Mastroeni to get the full-time job, considering he had this level of performance or this fight in the team. I think that's a good belief system, but just weren't good enough to beat the Portland side. And then Philadelphia Union again went up 1 goal. I was like, man, the magic could happen, but just too weak of a team to put out with too little experience to manage those types of expectations to realistically make it to the final. And for anybody who doesn't pay attention, they had 10 plus players in COVID protocol, so unable to play, including Andre Blake, including a number of their starters.
The captain. Glesnes. I mean, they had a lot of guys. I'll just jump in and say that very disappointing for Philadelphia. I feel like they've had these real exciting propositions of success. They've been to a couple Open Cup finals and haven't won any of them. They are on the precipice of getting to their first ever MLS Cup. And then they have this really unfortunate situation happen with the COVID protocol. And now they're shorthanded. And yet they still almost made it happen, which makes it even feel more heartbreaking. Like they just would have got slapped around by NYCFC. Like, all right, well, we're missing 11 guys, but they were hanging in there for a long time.
And that was their first conference finals, by the way, that they'd ever reached. 12 years to get that far, just to have their team depleted was already a disappointment.
Yeah, that's really tough.
It is tough. And looking forward to NYCFC, I'm happy that Taty Castellanos will be back for the final. Portland, on the Portland side, you'll have Sebastian Blanco, who should be healthy. So
I don't Asprilla.
And Asprilla will be back in. So you should have 2 full squads, relatively healthy, ready to go for MLS Cup. 2 teams that know how to score, make the game exciting. So from that standpoint, I'm very excited about it. And now I'm actually getting itching to go. I'm looking right now at my Google Maps, like 10-hour drive. I'm like, I might have to do it. So Heath, if you want to fly up and road trip up there, let's make it happen. But on the Portland side, and what I want to say about the Western Conference in particular, the last 7 seasons in the Western Conference champion has either been Seattle or Portland. And so I have a little bit of a question of what the hell the other teams are doing in the Western Conference, because that is unacceptable, the rest of the other teams, especially you LA teams that pride yourself on being the best.
Hey, by the way, you tweeted, by the way, that you're going to...
We're going to road trip, baby. Let's go.
You got to be careful there. You might get a few crazies joining. Ari Castillo's already... Oh, no, she was going to volunteer, but she's not going to do anymore. So anyway, go to Jimmy Conrad's Twitter if you want to join up. That should be very interesting.
I'm getting a 15-passenger seat van at this point. Let's go.
Congrats, by the way, to Alex Callens as well, a Peruvian back in the final. That's awesome to see. All right, well, we're going to do a weekend preview, obviously, later in the week and stuff, but just very quickly, Heath, give me just quick final. What do you think? Just the Portland Timbers support, local support will be too much, you think?
Yeah, that atmosphere, it's hard to explain it unless you're in it, obviously, but that home field advantage is real there. I've seen very, very average players become stars on that pitch because of the backing of that stadium and that fan base. And so I just think this is a huge, huge lean towards Portland Timbers to win this one, plus the mentality that they have to be able to fight and scrap. I just don't see how NYCFC can travel there and realistically expect to do anything but sort of fight their way out of that. So I'm going with a heavy favorite Portland on this one.
All right, Jimmy.
And conversely, I've seen great players go there and look average because of the atmosphere and because of the pressure. I wonder, and actually my big concern with Portland was, could they manage that, knowing the game against Salt Lake, that if they won, they would host the game. There's a lot of pressure there. And I thought they handled it on both sides of the ball very, very well against a team that was feeling very good about themselves. So I feel like they can kind of take that mojo that they had in this one and parlay it into this. But Taty Castellanos and NYCFC, I think it's going to be a close one, and I think it's going to be a great game. And that's what we need in our biggest games, is a nice advertisement for the league.
Absolutely. By the way, speaking of Castellanos, he was a guest. He's a friend of the show, so make sure you check that out. Super interesting, in Spanish as well, with subtitles as well. So that's cool. And also, Gio Savarese was a guest as well on the show. So a lot there to discuss, but we'll have much more content. Specifically, we can preview and even more leading up to MLS Cup.